Greetings, everyone. I'm Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number one of my 31 favorite blind buy albums of all time, right? So this is an idea that was thrown to me by Rick Labonte. He's like, why don't you do a whole month where you talk about those albums that you happen to find in a record store or in a shop or somewhere, yard sale, wherever it was that you buy music, but you happen to stumble upon this. You saw that album cover. You really weren't sure who the band was or what they were all about, or maybe you'd heard of the band, obviously, but never listened to their music, but you saw that album cover and you're like, all right, that's pretty amazing. I'm going to take a shot on it. And then you bring it home and you were like pleasantly surprised, and it turned out to be a winner, a home run of a purchase, right? And then you became a fan after that point, right? So there's lots of these. Absolutely lots of these. And so I'm going to, each and every day, I'm going to pull out stuff from my collection that were those blind buys that turned out to be a great buy. Some of these, you may have heard some of these stories before. I've, God, with all these years on the channel, I've talked a lot about some of these in various other episodes and things. But I'm going to kind of do a whole month of this, kind of revisiting. And I'll tell you a little bit of the story behind where I was when I bought it. That sort of thing, a little bit about the album factoids and things like that. I urge any of you to do the same below, down in the comments below. So today for day number one, pick number one. Again, these are in no order whatsoever, just random. Each and every day is going to be another pick. This is a band that around the time when I bought this, so the album itself was originally released in October 14, 1977. This happens to be a live album. Hold on. As my little puppy is like biting on the molding in my office. That's no good, right? This album came out in 1977. It was kind of like a transitionary album. It's also a live album for this band. And it was originally released on Atlantic Records or Charisma, depending on where you happen to be. And I bought this, if memory serves me right, I did not buy it in 1977, but I probably bought it in 1978 or early 79. I'm thinking 78 because I definitely bought it before their next studio album came out, and there actually was a couple of studio albums between this. Or actually, no, there was one studio album between this and the one that I actually bought. But this was my first purchase from them. So I'm thinking this was probably 1978. I was in Record World in Middletown, New York, which was one of my favorite record stores. We didn't have a lot. We had Record World in Middletown. We had Book and Record also in the Orange Plaza Mall in Middletown, New York. Those are the two record stores. One was a book and record store, obviously called Book and Record, but Record World was a pretty decent store. And, being a young kid, I was probably 12 at the time. I didn't really venture out too far. You could go to get albums, too, at department stores. Like we had Caldors and we had White. Well, it was probably White's at the time. Maybe it was Caldors. We had James Way and a couple other places, right? That's Lloyd's that sold albums. But mostly when you went to places like that, you got the newer albums, a lot of the old stuff and imports and things that didn't have anything like that. So Record World was the place to go to get these, cool releases, older releases. So I happened to be flipping through, and I was in the G section. And I happened to see Seconds Out by Genesis. And I apologize. A lot of you are probably thinking, oh, Pete, you're not going to hold up the vinyl so we can see the whole picture and get the whole effect. Well, I have very little vinyl. I'm a CD guy, right? But just picture back in the day, I was buying vinyl. Everybody was buying vinyl. That's what they had. There were no CDs back there. You're either buying cassettes, vinyl, or 8-tracks, right? So I happened to see this very cool album cover. It's a double album. I love the live shot. I like the atmosphere, the smoke, right? The live, you can tell it's one of those guys playing is that a double neck there? I don't know. They're kind of in shadow. There's a guy out front singing, and then I turn it around. You got this, and I'm like, Genesis. And I look at the back, and I see like some long songs, especially one of them, and I don't really know anything about Genesis. I hadn't listened to Genesis. To my knowledge, I wasn't aware of any Genesis songs. No clue who they were. But the album wasn't expensive. I was very intrigued. I had a little bit of money in my pocket from, working, mowing grass and, whatever, washing cars and stuff. I did things around the house and I did stuff for neighbors and things like that. So I had a little bit of money, not a lot. But I was very, very willing to take a chance on this because this is probably the first instance, maybe the second, of where if I saw a live shot of a band on a cover or on a back cover, I was instantly drawn in. And again, remember, I wasn't going to concerts yet at this time, but you can tell the wheels were already in motion. I was really interested in live music. And these live shots from these bands just totally did it for me. Probably becoming a Kiss fan early on, right? Kiss Alive 2. Huge fan of both of those albums. And I remember just looking over, the gatefold and the booklets in both of those albums and seeing all these live shots of the band. It was totally my thing. So seeing this, and again, deciding to take a chance on this, and at the time, I don't have a clue what progressive rock is. No idea. So I bring this home, and I'm looking it over, and all of a sudden I'm noticing, it's like 3 drummers on this album. What's that all about? Again, I don't know any of these guys. Got Bill Bruford, Chester Thompson, Phil Collins, right? You got Mike Rutherford. Oh, and he plays a double neck. That's kind of interesting. Steve Hackett, Tony Banks. The Banks guy plays all sorts of keyboards, right? I don't even know what a mellotron is at this point. I pop it in. The first song on here is Squonk. I was very taken with it. I will tell you, because at the time I was into more rockin' music, being a Kiss fan, starting to dabble into I was already into Boston, starting to dabble in some stuff. It was right around this time, I think, where I was just discovering like Styx and Kansas. So I probably a little bit of prog in my life, but again, not the classic British stuff. Squonk really, really grabbed me right off the bat. The mellower stuff on here, I wasn't as taken with right off the bat. So like Carpet Crawlers, I kind of like. Robbery, Assault and Battery was kind of fun. Afterglow, decent. I really like Firth the Fifth, and I originally thought, wow, what a great guitar solo. I like the quirkiness. I know what I like in your wardrobe. I love The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. I love the musical box. And again, it's only the short, abridged version of the musical box, but I really like the guitar solo in it. I love Supper's Ready. Doug's Cinema Show, but for me, Dance on a Volcano in Los Endos. To me, originally, I was totally taken by the back half of this live album, the big, long, epic track, and Squonk. Those are kind of my favorites. But I grew to really love this band. So again, my introduction to Genesis and a lot of these songs was hearing Phil's interpretation of all the Peter Gabriel songs. So I did not jump on board with Genesis with Peter Gabriel at all. From here, the Duke album came out not too long after I got this. That was my next purchase. I really like Duke a lot. Then I bought, and then there were 3, and then I bought like this compilation set, which I believe it was like a double album. I believed it contained Foxtrot, Nursery Crime, may or may not have contained the next album. Can't remember. Selling England. It may have just been, I believe it might have just been Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. It was like a kind of like a Charisma Years type of thing. And I really liked that a lot. And then that made me go and get the rest of the, just keep an eye on the puppy. That made me go get the rest of the Peter Gabriel stuff. And then, that was it. I was hooked. So, so that live shot, it happened to, and I was in the G section. What else I was looking for, I don't know, because back then I looked through every section. I just kept kind of seeing this Genesis thing. And I saw like other things in here. I remember seeing a bootleg of Peter Gabriel wearing, the one of the costumes with the clown face paint. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I remember seeing like Lamb in the section. I remember seeing like a bunch of other albums. But it was this one. I could have bought any Genesis album. They had a whole bunch of them at the time. I could have bought any of them. This is the one that I saw. This is the one that jumped out at me, the live shot. So that you may see more of these during the course of the month of where that live shot is what kind of grabbed me. But I brought it home. I absolutely loved it. And this was my introduction to Genesis. And it's been a lifelong love with this band ever since. And so we're going back. That's a long time ago, right? So like I said, I was probably 12. So, do the math. That was 47 years ago. It's crazy to think about it. But yeah, my first blind buy of the month, Seconds Out by Genesis, based on that live shot on the cover. Mysterious and kind of cool. And again, you open it up, Hey, what are you doing over there? I'm watching you. And again, the CD doesn't really replicate it at all. But, you know, you had in the middle, you had, when you opened it up, the gatefold had all these great other live shots. So I was just like, oh, this is amazing, right? This band looks so mysterious and kind of cool. And my journey really with, you know, British prog began right there. I dabbled in it a little bit with some of the U.S. stuff, right? Because I was already into Styx in Kansas. But my first real step into British prog with the band Genesis started here. So that's my pick for today. What is your pick for today? List it down in the comments below. If you care to comment on Seconds Out, maybe when you purchased it, when you dove into this particular album, let us know. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please hit the like button before you leave. Also, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options all down below. Thanks in advance for all your support, folks. It's greatly appreciated. We got Kai here for day one. Say hello, Kai. Say hi, Kai. Say hi, people. And we'll see you tomorrow for another pick. Till then, I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.